The galaxy pulsed with life, ancient and vast. Civilizations vied for power within a tapestry of treaties and rivalries, all under a tacit understanding that the balance of power was immutable. The Zaan Collective ruled from their crystalline spires, the Jaina Republic controlled the trade routes with their bioorganic fleets, and the Var Dominion enforced their brutal order through strength. Amid this intricate web of alliances and dominance, Earth, a small, unremarkable speck on the galactic map, was considered little more than a backwater curiosity. This perception began to shift the moment the Kalal delegation convened a historic summit on their orbital station, Omnis Primis. The invitation extended to Earth was met with skepticism, even derision, among the older, established species. Humans. The fledgling species with their crude starships and noisy broadcasts. What could they possibly offer the galaxy? Captain Elena Vasquez of the ESV Horizon found herself at the heart of this improbable opportunity. She stood in the station's grand hall, her posture immaculate, her uniform pristine, and her every movement deliberate. Yet, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the stares around her. The assembly of alien diplomats, beings with skin like molten gold, tendrils that shimmered with bioluminescence, and forms that defied human anatomy, whispered and murmured in languages both audible and telepathic. To them, she was an anomaly, a walking enigma. Her terrestrial build, with its hard edges and upright stance, seemed crude compared to their fluid, evolved grace. Her companion, Dr. Julian Oren, was a wiry scientist with a penchant for incessant note-taking. He'd spent weeks preparing for this summit, studying alien protocols, learning snippets of languages, and carefully constructing arguments that would position humanity as a valuable ally. Now, standing beside Elena, he clutched a sleek data tablet, his fingers twitching nervously. "They're not impressed," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the hum of alien discourse. "Good," Elena replied, a faint smile playing at her lips. "That means they won't see us coming." The words were confident, but Elena's eyes betrayed her unease. The stakes were monumental. Earth had finally caught the galaxy's attention, but this was a double-edged sword. To be underestimated was both a challenge and an advantage. One wrong move, however, and humanity's first foray into interstellar politics could become its last. The Kalal themselves were an imposing sight. Their translucent exoskeletons refracted light into rainbows, and their multifaceted eyes glimmered with an intelligence that spanned millennia. They presided over the gathering with an air of patient superiority, their leader, High Arbiter Thrixel, addressing the assembly in a voice that resonated like chimes in the wind. "Let us proceed with the evaluation of the Terran delegation," Thrixel announced, gesturing toward Elena and Julian with a spindly limb. "Present your case, humans." Elena stepped forward, every inch the composed diplomat. She began to speak, her voice clear and measured, weaving a narrative of human ingenuity, resilience, and potential contributions to the galactic community. She highlighted their resourcefulness in solving problems with limited resources, their unyielding spirit in the face of adversity, and their capacity for both creation and destruction. But it was when Julian activated the holographic projector that the mood in the room began to shift. The display showcased Earth's history, a visual tapestry of triumphs and tragedies. The assembly watched as images of towering skyscrapers, vast agricultural fields, and glittering cities gave way to scenes of war, devastation, and rebuilding. They saw humanity's darkest moments, conflicts that scarred their world, juxtaposed with their greatest achievements, art, exploration, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. The murmurs grew louder, tinged with unease. For all their sophistication, many of the elder species had long since forgotten what true conflict looked like. The Zaan had resolved their disputes through cold diplomacy, the Jaina through consensus, and the Var through sheer dominance. But humans? Their history was a volatile mix of chaos and creativity, destruction, and renewal. As the presentation concluded, a Jaina delegate with a cascading manner of bioluminescent tendrils raised an appendage. "Your history is violent," they observed, their voice a melodic hum. "It is filled with conflicts that would render our darkest epochs pale by comparison. Why should we believe your presence will bring anything but chaos?" Elena's reply was swift, her tone steady. "Because we've learned from that history. Our struggles have taught us to value peace, to seek understanding, and to approach challenges with innovation. But make no mistake, our capacity for destruction is matched only by our desire to prevent it. Her words hung in the air, pressing against the room's collective consciousness. A Zaan delegate's tendrils quivered in contemplation, while another species exchanged subtle glances of unease. It was then that Thrixl spoke again, their chime-like voice carrying a note of curiosity. "Your words are intriguing, Captain Vasquez," they said. "But words alone are insufficient. Actions define worth. Are you prepared to demonstrate yours?" Before Elena could respond, the station's alarms blared, a cacophony of warning tones that reverberated through the grand hall. The ambient lighting shifted to an ominous red, and the assembly erupted into chaos. Alien delegates darted and slithered toward exits, their movements frantic and disorganized. "What's happening?" Julian shouted, clutching his tablet as the room descended into pandemonium. A holographic display materialized above the hall, revealing a fleet of VAR warships emerging from hyperspace. Their sleek, angular forms radiated menace, and their weapon systems pulsed with latent energy. The VAR were known for their aggressive expansionism, and their presence here was a direct threat to the fragile balance of power. "Unscheduled arrival of VAR vessels," an automated voice announced. "All personnel, prepare for potential engagement." Elena's mind raced. This was no coincidence. The VAR had chosen this moment to assert their dominance, targeting the Kalal summit to send a message. But why? Her question was answered moments later when a transmission from the VAR flagship crackled to life. The image of a VAR commander filled the display, their reptilian features twisted into a sneer. "Esteemed delegates," the commander intoned, their voice a guttural growl. "Your gathering is an affront to the natural order. The VAR Dominion will not tolerate this mockery of unity." As the transmission ended, Thrixl turned to Elena, their multifaceted eyes glinting with urgency. "Captain Vasquez, your words of resilience and ingenuity may now face their trial. Will you rise to this challenge?" Elena's response was immediate. "We'll do what we must." The weight of her commitment settled over her as she and Julian were escorted to the station's command center. The room buzzed with activity, Kalal operators manipulating holographic interfaces with dexterity. The VAR fleet loomed ever closer, their intentions unmistakable. "They're testing us," Julian said, his voice tight with tension. "They want to see how the galaxy will respond." "Then let's show them," Elena replied, her eyes narrowing with determination. As she took command of the situation, coordinating with the Kalal and other delegates to mount a defense, the reality of the moment struck her. Humanity's first impression on the galactic stage would hinge on their actions under crisis, a test that could cement their place or doom them to irrelevance. The stakes were clear: to prove their worth, the humans would have to survive. And survival, as humanity had demonstrated time and again, was their specialty. The command center buzzed with activity. The Kalal worked feverishly, their translucent exoskeletons glinting under the harsh light as they relayed commands and calibrated holographic displays. The tension in the air was palpable, every movement purposeful as they prepared for a battle that could redefine galactic politics. Holographic displays projected the VAR fleet's movements in intricate detail, and alarms punctuated the tense atmosphere. Elena Vasquez stood at the center of it all, her expression a mask of calm determination, though her thoughts raced with the implications of the moment. This wasn't just about humanity's reputation, it was a test for everyone present. "We need to act fast," she said, addressing Thrixl and the other alien leaders gathered around the main console. "The VAR aren't here for diplomacy. They want to send a message, and we're all their targets." "Your insight is appreciated, Captain," Thrixl replied, their multifaceted eyes flickering with shifting hues of anxiety and resolve. "But what can your species contribute in such dire circumstances? The Kalal fleet is outnumbered and outgunned." Elena exchanged a glance with Julian, who had already begun pulling up data on the VAR's ship designs and known tactical patterns. "We can think differently," she said firmly. "Humanity's strength lies in our ability to adapt and improvise. But we'll need access to your systems." Thrixl hesitated for a moment before gesturing to a nearby console. You have it. Show us your ingenuity, human. Julian dove into the task immediately, his fingers flying over the alien interface as he worked to integrate Earth's tactical algorithms with the Kalal systems. Meanwhile, Elena focused on rallying the other delegates, who were still reeling from the sudden threat. Listen to me, she said, her voice cutting through the cacophony. This isn't the time for panic or politics. If we don't stand together, the VAR will tear us apart one by one. We need a unified strategy. Her words struck a chord. Delegates began to contribute actively. A Zaan representative detailed advanced cloaking protocols that had evaded detection for centuries, while a Jaina diplomat explained a unique weapon designed to overload enemy shields. Others recounted historical skirmishes with the VAR, each piece adding to the growing strategy. Slowly, a plan began to take shape, one that combined the strengths of multiple civilizations in ways none of them had ever considered. As the preparations continued, the tension aboard Omnis Primis grew palpable. The VAR fleet had established a blockade, and their smaller vessels were deploying to strategic positions. It was clear they were preparing for an overwhelming assault. They're trying to box us in, Julian muttered, studying the holographic display. If they close off these vectors, we won't have a clear path for maneuvering. Then we'll need to create one, Elena replied. She turned to Thrixel. Do you have any assets outside the blockade? Thrixel considered for a moment before nodding. A reconnaissance vessel, but it is lightly armed and poorly equipped for direct combat. It doesn't need to fight, Elena said. It just needs to create a diversion. If we can draw their attention to one sector, we might be able to punch through another. The High Arbiter's mandibles clicked thoughtfully before they gave a slow nod. It is risky, but it may work. I will relay the orders. As the Kalal vessel moved into position, the tension in the command center reached a breaking point. Every second felt like an eternity as the VAR adjusted their formations, their larger ships shifting to counter the apparent threat. It was a gamble, and everyone knew it. They're taking the bait, Julian said, his voice tight with relief. The opening is there. All ships, advance, Elena ordered. The combined fleet surged forward, exploiting the gap in the VAR's line. The maneuver was executed with precision, but the VAR were quick to adapt, and the battle began in earnest. The scene outside the station was chaotic and unrelenting. Energy beams lanced through the void, illuminating the darkness with dazzling bursts, while explosions sent debris spiraling in every direction. Inside the station, the walls shuddered with each distant impact, and a low rumble vibrated through the floors, adding a visceral edge to the tension. Ships twisted and turned in intricate dances of death, their shields flaring and failing under relentless assault. The combined fleet fought valiantly, but the VAR's technological superiority was undeniable. We're losing ships, Julian reported, his voice strained. Their targeting systems are too advanced. We can't keep this up. Elena's mind raced. She needed a solution, something that could shift the balance. Her gaze fell on the data Julian had compiled earlier, and an idea began to take shape. The VAR rely on centralized command nodes to coordinate their fleet, she said, pointing to the schematics. If we can disrupt those nodes, we can break their cohesion. That's easier said than done, Julian replied. Their command ships are heavily guarded. Which is why we'll need to hit them where they least expect it, Elena said. She turned to Thrixel. Do you have boarding teams? We do, Thrixel confirmed. But breaching a VAR command ship is nearly impossible. Not if we're clever about it, Elena countered. We'll need to stage a multi-pronged assault, drawing their defenses away while a small team infiltrates their flagship. The plan was audacious, bordering on reckless, but desperation left little room for caution. As the details were hashed out, Elena couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Humanity had pushed for inclusion in the galactic community, and now they had to prove they belonged. The operation began with a calculated strike on the VAR fleet's flanks. The Allied forces executed synchronized feints and flanking maneuvers, their ships darting in and out of formation with deadly precision. The VAR ships responded with erratic countermovements, their once disciplined formations splintering as they struggled to adapt to the unexpected tactics. Meanwhile, A small team led by Elena herself prepared for the infiltration mission. The boarding craft was a cramped, utilitarian vessel, its interior humming with the energy of barely contained anticipation. The team consisted of a mix of humans and Kalal, their disparate forms a testament to the fragile alliance they represented. "You all know the stakes," Elena said, addressing the team. "Failure isn't an option. Stay sharp, stay focused, and trust each other. We've got one shot at this." The craft launched, its stealth systems engaged as it approached the VAR flagship. The journey was nerve-wracking, every second stretching into an eternity as the team braced for the possibility of detection. But luck, or perhaps ingenuity, was on their side. The craft latched onto the flagship's hull, and the boarding operation began. The interior of the VAR ship was a labyrinth of angular corridors, pulsating with eerie blue light that cast shifting shadows on the metallic walls. The air was thick with an acrid metallic scent, and the hum of alien machinery reverberated beneath their boots, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The team moved quickly, their every step guided by the schematics Julian had provided. They encountered resistance almost immediately, the VAR guards proving as formidable as their reputation suggested. But the team pressed on, their determination outweighing their fear. "We're nearing the command node," Elena said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Stay tight. We're almost there." The final confrontation erupted in a cavernous chamber dominated by glowing consoles and flickering holographic displays. The dim lighting cast long, jagged shadows across the room, while the VAR command crew rose to their full height, their slit-pupiled eyes narrowing in fury as they prepared to defend their stronghold. The VAR command crew turned to face the intruders, their reptilian features twisting into expressions of disdain and fury. A fierce battle ensued, the clash of weapons and wills reverberating through the chamber. Elena fought with everything she had, her movements precise and calculated. Beside her, the Kalal warriors moved with an almost liquid grace, their combat techniques a blend of elegance and efficiency. Together, they overcame the VAR defenders and reached the central console. "Julian, we're in," Elena said, activating her comm initiate the override. Back on Omnis Primis, Julian worked frantically to upload the override code. The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness before he finally gave a triumphant shout. "It's done," he announced. "The command network is disrupted." The effects were immediate. The VAR fleet's movements faltered, their formations collapsing into chaos as their command network unraveled. Frantic adjustments and erratic maneuvers betrayed their mounting desperation, creating exploitable openings that the Allied forces capitalized on with relentless precision. The combined fleet seized the opportunity, pressing their advantage with renewed vigor. As the battle turned in their favor, Elena allowed herself a brief moment of relief. They had done the impossible, achieving a victory that would not only save the summit but also reshape the galaxy's perception of humanity. But she knew the fight was far from over. This was only the beginning. The battle outside Omnis Primis had shifted in favor of the Allied fleet, but not without a grim cost. Wreckage floated in a silent, glittering graveyard, while faint bursts of light still flickered from dying skirmishes. Elena couldn't help but think of the lives lost and the stories that ended in the cold expanse of space. Wreckage from both sides drifted through the void, the silent aftermath of explosive exchanges. Within the VAR flagship, Captain Elena Vasquez and her strike team pressed deeper into enemy territory, their objective looming ever closer. "We're close to the reactor core," Elena said, her voice a low whisper over the comms. She gestured for her team to halt and scanned the corridor ahead. The angular, metallic walls glowed faintly with a pulsating blue light, their surface cold to the touch. The hum of machinery resonated with a low, almost mechanical growl, sending shivers down the spines of the team. The faint scent of ozone and an unnatural stillness added an air of foreboding. "Julian, are you getting this?" Back aboard Omnis Primis, Julian Oren's fingers danced over his console as he analyzed the live feed from Elena's helmet cam. "I see it," he replied, his voice tense. "The core's defenses are more extensive than we anticipated. I'm patching a workaround for the shield systems now, but you'll have to deal with the security drones manually." Elena exhaled sharply and motioned for the team to move forward. The corridor opened into a cavernous chamber dominated by the VAR reactor core, a massive, spiraling structure that radiated an almost hypnotic light. Surrounding it were dozens of drones, sleek and insect-like, their crimson optics scanning the room in erratic patterns. "Stay sharp," Elena murmured, her grip tightening on her plasma rifle. "This is where it gets dicey." The team moved with practiced precision, each member scanning their sectors and covering angles with disciplined efficiency. One of the drones emitted a sharp chirp, its optics locking onto the intruders. Chaos exploded within moments. The drones darted with unnerving speed, their crimson optics flaring as energy beams sliced through the air in lethal arcs. "They're everywhere," one of the team members shouted, their voice tinged with both fear and determination. Elena's instincts took over. She ducked behind a console, returning fire and striking one of the drones squarely in its optic sensor. It spiraled out of control before crashing into the floor. Around her, the team fought valiantly, their combined efforts methodically thinning the swarm. "Julian, we need that shield down yesterday," Elena barked, her voice strained as she narrowly avoided a burst of energy fire. "Working on it," Julian replied, his tone equally tense. "I just need another 30 seconds. "We don't have 30 seconds, Elena retorted, her frustration palpable. She fired off another shot, taking down 2 drones in quick succession. Finally, Julian's voice came through with a note of triumph. "Shield is down. You're clear to access the core." Elena didn't waste a moment. She signaled for the team to provide cover as she sprinted toward the core. Her hands moved deftly over the alien console, guided by Julian's instructions. The reactor's energy levels spiked, its light intensifying as Elena worked to overload the system. "How much longer?" one of the Kalal warriors called out, their usually fluid voice tinged with urgency. "Almost there," Elena replied, her fingers flying over the controls. Sweat beaded on her brow as the console's alien symbols blurred together in her peripheral vision. A sudden impact rocked the room as a VAR enforcer burst through a side door, its massive frame bristling with armor and weaponry. It roared a guttural challenge, advancing on the team with deliberate menace. "We've got a problem," one of her teammates shouted, opening fire on the enforcer. The alien shrugged off the initial volley, its shields absorbing the energy with ease. "Keep it busy," Elena ordered, her focus unbroken as she bypassed another security protocol. The reactor's hum grew louder, its light now almost blinding. The enforcer lunged, its massive claws tearing through a Kalal warrior's shield and sending them sprawling. Another team member flanked the creature, landing a well-placed explosive charge on its back. The resulting detonation staggered the enforcer but didn't stop it. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "The core is set to overload. We need to move, now." The team began a fighting retreat, their path marked by the wreckage of drones and the furious roars of the wounded enforcer. They barely made it back to their boarding craft as the first tremors of the reactor's instability rippled through the VAR flagship. As the craft disengaged, the team watched from a safe distance as the flagship's core erupted in a cataclysmic explosion. The shockwave rippled outward, scattering debris and temporarily disabling nearby VAR vessels. The Allied fleet exploited the chaos with calculated precision, flanking disoriented VAR ships and executing pinpoint strikes that shattered their defenses. One human commander orchestrated a risky pincer maneuver, threading ships through a narrow gap and striking a key VAR cruiser from behind. On Omnis Primis, the command center erupted into cheers as the tide of battle decisively turned. Julian slumped back in his chair, the tension draining from his body as he let out a shaky laugh. "You did it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You actually did it." Elena's voice crackled over the comms. "It's not over yet. We've got them on the run, but we need to make sure they don't regroup." High Arbiter Thrixel's multifaceted eyes shimmered with a mixture of awe and newfound respect as their resonant voice filled the room. "Today, humanity has shown not just courage, but the brilliance of innovation and unity. You have earned your place among us. The humans have proven their worth today. Let us ensure their efforts are not in vain. All ships, pursue and eliminate the remaining VAR forces." As the Allied fleet surged forward, Elena allowed herself a moment of reflection. The mission had come at a steep cost, yet it had illuminated humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Elena reflected on the sacrifices made, knowing they had proven their worth. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's unyielding spirit, and the echoes of this battle would resonate for generations. They weren't just survivors, they were innovators, strategists, and fighters. And now, they had earned their place on the galactic stage. The battle's aftermath unfolded in solemn contrast to the chaos that had gripped the galaxy hours before. Twisted metal and shattered ships drifted in a spectral dance, their broken forms illuminated by the dim glow of distant stars. Elena's gaze lingered on the wreckage, her thoughts heavy with the lives lost to secure this fragile peace. The Allied fleet, battered but victorious, gathered near Omnis Primis to regroup and assess the cost of their triumph. Wreckage from VAR ships drifted silently among the stars, their fractured hulls still crackling with faint residual energy. From the observation deck, the occasional spark fizzled and dimmed, a quiet echo of the battle's fury. Yet amidst the ruin, hope flickered anew. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the Kalal station, gazing out at the battlefield-turned-graveyard. Her reflection in the reinforced glass was weary, her uniform scorched and torn, but her eyes held the quiet strength of someone who had seen humanity through its most defining moment. High Arbiter Thrixel approached, their crystalline form refracting the station's soft light. They paused beside Elena, their multifaceted eyes studying her intently. "Captain Vasquez," Thrixel began, their voice resonant with gratitude and solemnity, "you and your people have proven yourselves in ways we could not have imagined. This victory belongs to all of us, but its heart lies with humanity." Elena nodded, the weight of Thrixel's words sinking in. "It wasn't just us," she said, her voice heavy with emotion. "Every species here risked everything. We just found the cracks and forced them wide open." Thrixel inclined their head. "A testament to your resilience and ingenuity. The VAR have been dealt a critical blow, and the alliances forged here will reshape the galaxy." They paused, their crystalline structure dimming slightly. "But at great cost. Let us not forget those who gave everything." Elena's thoughts turned to her fallen team members, their faces etched in her memory. "We won't. They'll be remembered, not just by us, but by every world that's safer because of what happened here." Thrixel extended a delicate limb, placing it lightly on Elena's shoulder in a gesture of solidarity. "Your species is young, but your potential is boundless. The galaxy will remember this day not as the triumph of the Kalal or the VAR's fall, but as the moment humanity truly emerged." The observation deck grew quiet, the weight of the moment shared between them. Then a chime broke the silence, signaling an incoming transmission. Julian's voice came through the comms, tinged with exhaustion but triumphant. "Elena, we've compiled the data from the VAR systems. They won't recover from this easily. Their supply lines are in disarray, and their command structure is fractured. If we act quickly, we can ensure they're no longer a threat." Elena turned from the window, her posture straightening. "Send the data to the alliance leaders. We'll need a coordinated effort to secure the peace we've fought for." Julian hesitated. "And what about Earth? This is our chance to make a real impression." Elena smiled faintly. "We already have. Earth's part of something bigger now. This isn't just about us anymore." Over the next weeks, the alliance solidified, coordinating surgical strikes on VAR strongholds and securing key supply routes. Their combined forces dismantled the remnants of the VAR war machine with precision and efficiency. Diplomatic efforts flourished, uniting species that had once eyed each other with suspicion. The battle for Omnis Primis became a symbol of what could be achieved through cooperation and shared purpose. Back on Earth, the news of humanity's role spread like wildfire. Monuments rose in cities and villages alike, from towering obelisks etched with the names of the fallen to a grand memorial in Unity Square. The centerpiece was a glowing sphere, representing Earth cradled by the silhouettes of allied species, a symbol of unity and hope. But for Elena, the greatest honor lay in knowing that humanity had not just survived but thrived. They had earned a place among the stars. Months later, standing on the bridge of the ESV Horizon as it prepared to depart on another mission, Elena gazed out at the endless expanse of stars. The hum of quiet conversations and the soft glow of control panels created a sense of anticipation and purpose among her crew. Some exchanged determined glances, while others wore small, hopeful smiles as they prepared for the journey ahead. They seemed closer now, no longer a distant dream but a vast frontier waiting to be explored. Her crew worked diligently around her, their energy tinged with the pride of representing a species that had proven its worth. Julian stepped up beside her, holding a datapad filled with new mission directives. "Hard to believe, isn't it?" he said, gesturing toward the view. "How far we've come." Elena nodded, a smile playing at her lips. "And how far we've yet to go." The Horizon's engines hummed to life, their vibration a steady promise of new beginnings. With a final glance at the station fading behind them, Elena gave the order. "Set course for the Andron cluster. Let's see how far we can go." As the ship accelerated into the unknown, the stars blurred into streaks of light, a fitting metaphor for humanity's journey ever forward, ever reaching, and ever ready to face whatever lay ahead.